Hey all, welcome to Layer 5's website meeting. So in this call, we'll be discussing about all the front-end stuff that you all are doing. Let me share my screen. So before we begin, we will follow our weekly meeting tradition to welcome newcomers. So if you are joining this call for the first time, feel free to sound off and give a quick introduction. So do we have newcomers on this call?
Hey everyone, I'm Santosh. I'm a CSC third year student, currently pursuing my bachelor's in Satyabama University, Chennai, and I'm relatively new to the community. I know a bit of React, Takkar, and I'd love to contribute to the community.
That's great. Welcome to the call, Santosh. So hi, Naureen. Is this your first time joining this call? Cool. If you have any kind of audio issues, feel free to introduce yourself in chat. And if you have webcams, you can turn them on. It always feels good to connect with faces. With that, I think we don't have more newcomers on today's call. So we can start off with today's item. So first up on the list, we have Avi Kumrawat on Meshmap design pop-up card carousel. So hi, Avi, would like to share your updates? Avi, we can't hear you. You might have to fix the audio.
Right.
Yep, yeah, it's with your mic. Cool. So what should we do in this case now? You're able to share your screen and
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Actually, he can either work on it for a little while, or when we come back to him, if it's still the same issue, I think Shivam might have enough context to kind of speak to it while he shares.
yeah, cool. We'll circle back to Avi then. So Shivam, you're up first then.
Yeah, Gaurav, do you mind opening the PR that I mentioned?
Sure.
Can you go to the latest preview? The mesh map slash visualize. So this is the visualize page that and I've added some features as well, and I've added the images for the features, and I've made some refinements the last time when we and I reviewed this, and yeah, so basically this is with the main visualize page, and so you can also see the dark mode. Yeah, so here an icon for log stream is left. Actually, the internet is not working here properly since the past 22 days. So I'm having trouble to see some changes. So I've made them local. I'll push them as soon as I can. And so this is the main update for the visualize page.
Cool. Are you asking for feedback or what do you?
Yeah,
what's going on?
yes, absolutely. I'm asking for some,
Cool. Anybody have? So this is, so I mean, you have to give some context for everybody else, I think, which is this is a new page that is yet to be published. So this page describes one of the projects that's here. There's a screenshot of what the project looks like in the background, which is not a good screenshot. But that'll give you a sense of what the project is like. And so, yeah, it looks like there's a, you know, I don't know. There's a couple of things that people can do. It looks like they'll be able to click to see each of these individual features. Is that right? On the cards there?
yeah, you have to hover over.
Say it again.
You just have to hover over them to see the transitions.
Okay, so they're not clickable, but you can hover and okay. Is the intent for them to be clickable at a future date?
Yes, yes. When if we have something to show them regarding that feature, then it can be as well.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay. Who's got feedback? Anybody got feedback? I wonder if I wonder if we're missing a lack of consistency for the icons that are being used in the grid, and if the truck isn't maybe too cartoonish for the overall site, if it really goes with the rest of the site. I don't know. It's nice. It's pretty. I like the animate transition that's added as well. Jimmy, do you have feedback? Hey Jimmy, welcome to the call. Were you going to say something? Cool. And then to Jimmy, I'm going to go ahead and mute your mic, but when you do want to say something, feel free to unmute. Good, great. Shivam, you were saying that the log stream is still a work in progress?
Yes, actually, Ritik has provided a graphic. Yeah, I have it on my local, but there have been internet problems in my state since 1 to 2 days, so I'm not able to push instantly.
Okay. There was some feedback given previously on it's that, gosh, what do you call that? Filter. And it being, so you reduced the level increment, you incrementally reduce the size of the font for each row, which is nice, which helps give it the filter shape, the triangular shape. I don't know
also
that
added some blue gradient so that it all doesn't look green.
Okay, yep. Trying to mix it up. I don't know that it's mixed up enough necessarily, or that the horizontal lines maybe shouldn't be slightly different, or that I don't know for those that are on the call, when you look at this particular triangle-ish shape, what does it convey to you? I wonder. Anybody, just so Karan, how about you? What does it convey when you just see this section? Anything?
So as it goes in the order from services to workloads, namespaces, and multi-cluster being the top of the chain, like it conveys that multi-cluster is the one of the like the top priority.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. Good. So you get a sense of prominence and potentially importance from the sequencing, right? From the size and kind of very good. Nice. Yep. I wonder if, to the extent that part of what's trying to be conveyed here is a similar concept as to when you visit like Google Maps or any map, where you zoom all the way out to like bird's eye view, and you zoom further in, and some of the details that weren't there previously start to come into view, and maybe some information that was there previously starts to kind of fade past your line of sight. This is in part what is kind of that general sense or concept we're trying to convey, without necessarily showing people an actual timeline that you zoom in on with tick marks and things. So just as we ideate here a little bit, does anybody have other ideas maybe on different graphic that might be used, or just an alternative way of conveying some of that? So there's different views that people can snap to, like sort of different zoom levels, so to speak. So to use that map analogy, there's something like you might be at a world view, like where you're seeing countries and oceans, a country view, states and counties, a state view, cities and streets, and you just kind of keep going down. So the thought is that there's something of a funnel here in terms of the big items kind of getting your focus and view level being zoomed down to finer grained details. Anybody have any other thoughts about what might be conveyed or a different way of doing it? The site itself, like part of the issue with a page like this is that hey, Web3 is a thing, and generally there's some of these graphics that kind of look like Web3, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. We're not building blockchain, or we're not doing NFT or those things. However, so that's one thing to be careful of, conveying that that's the kind of tech that we're working with. Two is that we don't have that same look and feel on the rest of the site. So to the extent that it diverges, that's okay. We don't want to be held back by prior designs, but that does mean that at some point we have to be consistent with prior designs and update them as well. So anyway, for me, there's a lot of the same style used right here that I'm wondering what we can do to shake things up a bit, or make it more of a funnel with an actual open top or more of a conic cylindrical type shape, like a cone. So what we're trying to get people to do on the page is, I guess the primary call to action is to get access to the beta. So sign up. I wonder if people are, funneled to that. I wonder if that's what we're really achieving. I'm not sure that it is. So we use one yellow button on the page. It's right underneath the title and subtitle. The subtitle needs to come down in font weight. Needs to be more differentiated from the title itself. If you go all the way to the top of the page, yeah, great. I don't know. So we have two subtitles: see your designs in action. In action would be hyphenated. Operate with best practices. Good. Maybe operate confidently with best practices, or we can probably just use, I don't know, maybe one line if we can get to one line, but explore visualizer. Yeah, maybe just explore Meshmap, or explore Meshmap visualizer, or visualize your infrastructure. Good. Anyway, those are just top of mind thoughts for me. Who else has got a sense or a feeling? Like, are you frustrated that you can't see more of the screenshot? Is that does that call to you and you want to check it out, but you can't? So are you confused that you might be able to click on the cards, but you can't actually do that? If you go into light mode, I think light mode probably needs some work. The truck doesn't look quite as cartoonish in dark mode, but in light mode, it does. It's an interactive terminal. I don't know that I would have gotten that browser window as a terminal. When you hover, it makes sense, but terminals are rarely carry gradient like that. People who take the time to style them, sure, but they also don't usually have a title on the title bar, like the layer 5 there. So I just didn't stand out to me as being a terminal. Service performance. Oh, there's like a horseshoe in there. Yeah, I get that does that. It looks like you spent a lot of time on the graphics, which is nice. It's always good to send them in it for review in advance before you spend too much. If you go to the DVR, what does it do? Okay. It's a cool network-centric, connection-centric graphic, but timeline, other than the fact that there's tick marks on a line, which is good for a timeline, the rest of it, like on hover, doesn't really convey that it's a timeline. It conveys that it's some kind of a network connection bus topology. So good. Okay, let's go to the next. We're gonna take up all the time. I was hoping you would send these in advance so we could give some of that feedback without.
Yeah.
But I realize your internet's been down, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Shivam, I just want to just ask one thing. I think I asked in last call also. So how are you planning to link all the 3 pages in the homepage?
Yes, actually, on the in this each section, when the user like at the bottom of each section, will have the learn more link, and that will redirect the user to the dedicated pages.
Mm. Okay, yeah, do send a design or anything, a UX thing that would clear things much better.
And if you would just for a second open the collaborate page as well on the layer 5 IU website. On the layer 5 right website.
Is there?
Collab.
Oh,
This is what I worked on the local app, pushed the hero up a bit so that users can see directly when they come to the home page, and so that the is there. And one of these sections is being worked on by Sudhanshu, and he has some good work in hand, and he'll be making a PR for that. So this is basically the collaborative that we have right now. When I push the other changes, there'll be some refinements as well.
yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you for your updates, Shivam. So seeing time. So let's move to next item. That's by Udit. So before moving to Udit, so Avi, let's quickly circle back to you. So are you all set with audio?
Yeah, Gaurav, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So the issue is regarding the design page of the Meshmap project, which I've also discussed in the previous meeting. So the update is we have I have implemented the role effect feature, which Dee suggested in the previous meeting. So like uh, on clicking any card, it just rolls over other cards which are not yet seen. So yeah, it decreases the control on like if a user wants a particular card to be checked. So they cannot do that, but yeah, it definitely increases the usability of it. Uh, and other things that are like um, yeah, so the rollover effect is the dominant thing that is done in this at this issue. pretty much it. Like it is also added. I have also added a floating effect on this. Also, one thing I've done is I have set uh, all, I have set a card already active when a user loads on the page. So it makes the carousel more intuitive, you can say, so that they get they get an intuition that yeah, you can see over the cards. And yeah, pretty much it.
So Avi, what happens? Did you incorporate that prior feedback to allow the card to take up more width on the page?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I have set the width like a fixed width, not a dynamic width. So yeah, every card is just has the same width. Uh, can you elaborate more? Like how? What do you mean by?
Yeah, what you're able to convey inside of each card is, well, you gotta really, as a site visitor, you really gotta want to know what's inside there to have to kind of click through the animation to get to the card that you might want to see. If there were 6 cards, you want to see the 6th one, you're gonna have to click right to rotate through, or maybe you could
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
out this one. Okay, like
So you have to. It just rolls over. You cannot pick a card in between. Like
yeah, it's nice that
yeah,
there's clear color differences, so you can see the fact that there are really different cards there outside of just
yeah,
a shadow between them. But what I was trying to say is, well, like for me, I don't know. I can only speak to how lazy of a site visitor I am. I just wouldn't click through them because they're not interesting enough. There's not enough in there to visually compel me to, like, my eyes are too lazy to read this stuff. Moreover, to like go through 6 of them or 4 of them to like see what they say. And I don't know that I would have really enough context to understand what it is that they're saying. So I understand that you're not focused on the content. However, the formatting of it is quite important. These are kind of to reiterate what we said in the past is like they're too small. Like the primary point would be that there would be
yes,
an image in there or some sort of animation in there that would be visually conveying what it is that the feature is at the same time. So a fixed width sort of neuters the value of the deck. The floating is, you ever make your first kind of animations inside of a PowerPoint? Do you recall that day?
sorry.
Yeah, you ever make animations inside of a PowerPoint and go to give a presentation with animations?
Yes, yes, yes.
Most of us make the common mistake of, well, abusing the animations, and they become more distracting than the actual content itself. And consequently, there might be some entertainment value or just some annoyances as you stand there and watch the presenter talk about a slide that just keeps doing the same thing, just kind of distracting you from what they're saying. That's probably what's happening with that floating thing. It's probably
Okay.
too, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's so much going on, I guess. Like,
yeah.
uh, yeah,
Can you show the responsiveness of the page, or so you're
yeah.
going to work to make sure that the card fills up the width given with a little bit of margin on each side, so it doesn't touch the deck or touch the. You might,
Yes, so
yeah,
yeah. So for now, I have made the section responsive up to like 1,000 pixels. Below it, I cannot like it's not looking good below 1,000 pixels. So we can show the the swiper component below 1,000 pixels, which Shravani will discuss later. So like yeah, below 1,000 pixels, it is good for me. Below
go,
1,000, yeah, it just you know overlaps with the heading.
got you. Yeah. Do you, when as you go to potentially remove vertical, floating animation, do you consider that cut the bottom portion of the deck that's being cut off, would that go away?
Yes, actually that's because of we can also eliminate that pad, increasing the height of the section or padding. So yeah, that will be removed. No problem with that.
Who else has feedback? Who else has thoughts on this?
What we can do below 1000 pixels, maybe we can just show the card, and so accordingly we can arrange the content so that we can only see the card below 1000 pixels, and then after 767 pixels for medium and small size screens, we can show what Shravani is working on, and that is having centered cards.
Can you repeat, Shivam, what you said? Between 1000 and 700 pixel, we can just show the cards.
Yep. The description
Okay.
on the left hand side maybe can be covered with the cards, and so we'll have to arrange the content in that manner, like the testimonials and all.
Can't we do like this? We'll put the content like in the column view, the heading and that paragraph above, and below that the cards will come, if it's possible.
Uh, yes,
Yeah, but that will leave the left part of the section like empty,
Hey,
I guess.
Avi, yeah, sorry to stop you in between. Yeah, like a great update and like time check. So let's take feedback on
Oh,
Slack. Okay. Yeah,
okay.
that was a good update. So let me share my screen again. So next up we have Udit's topic. So Udit would like to share your screen.
Yeah. Okay, so this was the mesh map page which I built for the desktop. Now for mobile version, I have changed the UI layout. So when you go below 800 pixels, you would normally see this UI which does not have any scroll trigger animation or any such thing like that. So it's more like stable to use in C. And I have not used any width or any user agent. You can actually just use some match media, which is you can define the max width, so you can disable everything instead of like calculating width or height or using the user agent thing. So this is how it would look in mobile now. So I just want to know if there's some feedback, anything else that I should change. Well, everything else would work the same in desktop actually.
Yeah, so do you, I guess we should test it on a physical device, just because I think the last time it was like the touch on the touch on the screen was not quite the same. I'll go try it now just to confirm. But pretty neat that, so you were saying you're able to control the scroll rate, not just through media queries. Do you mind showing that again, like what it was that affected the scroll rate?
Actually, I've disabled the scroll thing which I added recently, the library which I used. So there's one option called match media in which we can decide like on what width we can show this animation or the timeline. So I've disabled this timeline for devices which have width less than 800 pixels. So for devices less than 800 pixel, I would normally just change the UI layout using a media queries and just React components. So there's nothing like anything new. I just
I see.
remove the already in the. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So often simpler is better, or like it's a lot easier. So yeah, that makes sense. That's great. But for my part, I'll go give this a try real fast on a mobile device. But it looks great from what you're showing, Udit. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Udit. Any more items from you?
No.
Cool. So next up we have an update from Nikhil B. So
Oh, wait, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I totally missed it. I think it's still too early in the morning for me. Yeah. So Udit, what you're doing is, so you're no longer animating like we were before. Now it just becomes
Yes.
individual pictures. I see, you cheated. Okay, cool. That'll, yep. In lieu of having it functional like it is now, it got better to fall back to a reduced set of functionality so that it's navigable, like so that people can actually scroll and see things. It's not nearly as cool as it was before with the like animation in place. However, this is better. Like in some respects, the coolness factor went down, but the usability factor went up. So it was more or less inusable or unusable currently. So this is an improvement. I just want to give you the right amount of credit, like, you know. Cool.
cool. So next up we have Nikhil B, and I don't think he's on the call. So we'll just quickly take a review on his PR. So he's fixing a GitHub logo for dark mode, and a review is pending from Shivam. So Shivam, you can go and give a quick review. So let's move to next update. That's by Naureen. So hi Naureen, would like to share your screen? I think you are having some kind of audio issues. So no issues. We can circle back to you so you can fix your audio. Okay, you're sharing.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Actually, it's my first session and I'm new to open source and I'm a little bit overwhelmed as well. And I have a little child with me.
I wonder if they're new to open source too. That's great.
Okay. So what I'm going to work on is probably adding an endpoint. Like I want to add a table of content in endpoints. So I'm just thinking if I can, like I made these APIs for my personal project and maybe I can add some toggles into the project. Can you see my screen? Yeah. So
Yep, we can.
I can add something like this to the work I was doing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to
Good
find.
for others to maybe, yeah, there you go. For others to offer some feedback. Naureen is highlighting, well, she's highlighting there's two API references in Meshry docs. So if you visit docs.meshry.io, there's a page that has REST API reference and allows people to navigate the REST API and familiarize with it. And same thing for the GraphQL API. In the REST API, there's still something of a fairly terrible mock-up, probably, of how it might be formatted. So Naureen and a couple of others are working on improving the docs, and part of the improvement is like trying to enhance the design of these mockups. So Naureen, you're just saying, hey, you're new to open source, so great. Hey,
yeah.
I'm glad this is great. Thanks for you're like, what a massive step for joining your first call, not just in open source in general, but then here in this community specifically, and then sharing all this and bringing up some sort of, and then also trying to ideate on the call, which is like also quite scary because, maybe you're suggesting things that people don't like, but yeah, so great. So
So I made these APIs by myself. So, and these are, the API, this is the format I made to put them on index file.
Yeah.
So
some
maybe
nice.
I can use these, toggles in the, I think I'm supposed to put the table of content above this endpoint. So maybe I can, or we can have a list of APIs like this, and then we can see the details. I don't have the page.
Like that, yo. Sorry, there's a hip hop song that sounds kind of like what you're saying. Good. Well, so Vivek and Senali are both on the call, and they've recently given a little bit of thought to this area.
Okay.
And so Senali and Vivek, I wonder if you might have some thoughts to offer Naureen as she looks at this.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Naureen. I mean, yes, what you're saying is we can go with that. But firstly, is that okay? I mean, if we put, the table of content between endpoints and that, self-generated documentation based on Mercedes Open API specification, between that, if we put the table of content, is that okay?
Yeah, here, above endpoint here.
Yes.
Okay.
So for, finding out a particular endpoints, you don't have to scroll up all over the page. So just you get to know about that API, I mean.
Yeah.
Senali, thoughts from you? You also have a PR up on this, I guess.
And should we make like APIs like get and separate, or should we just start with the title of the, like this API and pattern?
Just title. I mean, just title. We don't have to include everything, just the title, and we should hyperlink that. So if someone clicks on a, endpoint, the title of the endpoint, they are taken to their the description, So
Yeah.
just hyperlink it, not the whole description there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, yes, yes. We will try implementing it, and if it doesn't look good, we will, then improvise real time. Yes.
Okay.
So as Senali gives some thought to this, maybe Vivek, I'll ask this. I think in at least there might be 2 other areas in the docs, Meshery docs right now, that have this sort of expand, collapse, sort of show, hide functionality that have something of a toggle. And I think one of them is pretty terrible, probably needs to go. And I think it's on the Windows platform page. But I thought there was a different one. And so I guess I just wanted to ask, as Naureen explores that toggle concept, which is quite nice, right? Because you can, as you're trying to, as you go to the API docs, usually as a contributor, you have a particular use case in mind. Usually maybe you wanted to get to the user details for like the currently signed in user. How do you get their details? Maybe that's your task. And so you go look at the docs, the API docs, and you're like, well, geez, there's designs and patterns and filter. There's all these like entities, and I'd like to interact with the user. And so just trying to navigate it. It's nice when, not all that info is just shown to you all at once, but you can drill in.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. I mean, we might be overusing some colors here too, maybe not. I don't know what I wouldn't know really what. I get that red for delete, it conveys what you would typically consider delete to be, but the colors for the rest only confuse me.
Yeah, and I think for accessibility, red and green doesn't make, if someone is colorblind, then red and green may be not a suitable color to put on.
Yeah, I have to say, if that's the case, like they're screwed. Like, I mean, not to show any irreverence to those that are disabled, but they're absolutely effed. If between green and red, like that's the most common, like things are good and you're good to go, or things are bad. And, like, and granted, there are other ways of communicating that outside of color, but you're going to find that like all throughout this project, there's a presumption that people can tell the difference between those two. Otherwise, there's just that we just can't get there. Anyway, it's a good point. It's it's a good point about accessibility. Vivek, something that we want to try to do is curate the Meshri Docs contributor guide such that it starts to highlight reusable components, like if there is a show hide component, or if there is a like some particular includes that we want to promote reuse of, like this show hide or this toggle is one of those. So, and maybe there's a couple of flavors of it, but yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And I'm also struggling with the setup as well.
Yeah, the discussion forum is a great place to, like, you need to drop in your details about the fact that you're on Mac. So congrats, like the hard part is over. You're not on Windows, so it'll be easier for you.
Okay.
But then, yeah, the discussion forum is a great place to, the question might be answered there already, but if not, like never hesitate to open up a.
I've tried different solutions which were given on the community website, but it's not working for me right now. Maybe I'll try something else.
Drop in the specific, there could be 1,451 things that are not working for you. So you got to give details on what that is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's great.
Cool. Great update, Naureen, and welcome to the community. So let me share my screen. So next up, we have an update on mobile swiper from Shravani. Shravani, would like to share your screen?
Actually, okay, so this is the swiper I made for tablet and mobile view. The feature which we made for me. So you could see responses. Yeah, this is my responses, and it has automatic also, and we can manually also even swipe it. And the one feature which I'm adding is the gradient, alternate gradient that I'm going to add today. Yeah, this is one. Any feedback on this?
Yeah, feedback for Shravani.
Okay, Shravani, as in Popout card, as we have seen that made by Avi, that some text is visible before like popping out the card. But in this, like in mobile swiper, we can't see any text backwards that like back cards have. So like how the user would like know that we have to swipe or slide the card if it is not, any text is not visible in front from the front.
I didn't got your question. In this view, are you talking about this mobile view only, no?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So here,
No, you're kidding. I'm just entertaining myself. Please, you guys, that's great.
Okay. What you're asking, the text is not visible. Are you saying that?
Yeah, like in desktop, like in we made from that right side, the cards are like small amount of text are visible in the desktop version. If we are seeing in mobile view, the in backward cards we are not seeing any text like little amount of text also.
Yeah, I got it. Therefore, I have also added that automatic thing. Like every 2 seconds, the next card appears. Because in mobile view, I don't think more cards can be shown. It will not look good. Like, are you saying should I show more cards on the
No, no,
side?
no more cards. We could like slightly make the like backward cards more tilt so that something letter should be visible from the front.
Okay.
So that side visitors can know that, yeah, we have to slide this card, something is written in the back.
Yeah, but if even if they don't slide the card, the next card is popping out. So I don't think very little text will be shown. Even if I like make the back behind cards pop out, then to all text will not be shown. So,
Okay, like we
Yeah,
will
I guess
discuss it later.
the, the cards auto rotating makes them intuitive for the user to like swipe on them. I guess that solves the issue you are talking about, Sudhanshu.
Okay, okay, like okay. So like we could discuss in Slack later on.
Yeah, cool. That's it's a good update, Shravani. Let's take this to Slack.
yeah.
Yeah, wait, one other real quick one, because like I have to say, like Shravani, you did it. Like you took on the challenge of like that quick delivery, and by Friday, it was like Thursday, I think, before Friday, you were showing progress, you were doing you got some feedback, you incorporated almost all the feedback, and you were noting that you have like one point of feedback left, which is not the easiest one. But just before I talk about that, I just wanted to take a moment to say, well, I'm impressed. Like, this is pretty good. It's pretty nice. Like, even if that was all that it was, like, it's usable. Like, yeah, okay, maybe, there's some like some slight improvements to talk about, but it is, well, it's a solution. We didn't have a solution really for the way that, like, bringing together those cards that were formerly taking up the full width of the screen and then moving them into mobile mode. Like, this solves that problem. So this is really nice. So I just wanted to say good job. Like it's pretty good. It's pretty great. Smooth animation. People they can swipe like with a grab and a swipe. I think they can click as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I tried to implement that click on next feature, but there was some issue like going on with React Child. I also uploaded it on the discussion forum 4 days ago, but I didn't got any response. So yeah, therefore I am not implementing that feature. Click on next. Yeah.
Got you. And then then you were saying, hey, if after a couple of seconds it'll auto rotate, it's set to auto rotate after a couple of seconds, so that do you know if someone is halfway through reading what's there? Yeah, I don't know. It's something to end up thinking about. It's like if it doesn't go fast enough, they might not know that they have the ability to rotate through the deck, because they might not click on. If it goes to
Right now I have put the timer of 2 seconds. So should I reduce it to
well,
1
I don't
second?
know. It's one of those hard. It's like really hard to get right, because what we want to try to do is change the question. I think, to be like, imagine this, like, okay, because certain people read more quickly than others, or they're more bored with one card than they're like, yeah, that card is boring. They already know that. But the next one is like, oh, that's really interesting. They want to soak on it and think about it. Like, it's so hard to get that answer correct.
Okay. Are you saying if someone wants to read that card, then it will not go behind, like it will not rotate, right?
Potentially, it's a difficult, like, so the end.
I can implement that. If someone is clicking on the card, the rotation will stop. I can do that.
Like if they click and hold, yeah. Or maybe if they're
Now
focused.
it's implemented that if they hold the card, the rotation will not happen.
Okay. So you might change it to be if their mouse focus is on the card, the rotation would stop. The auto rotation would stop.
Yeah, yeah.
There's that's a good compromise between, like, because what you're trying to do is let everybody know that there is info here. And for those of us that are quite lazy, even in clicking, still you might auto rotate just to, like, great. But if they're into it, if they're into it, how do they intimate that to the site? Well, by putting their mouse on top. And so to your point, if the cards have focus, if the card has the mouse on top, then yeah, if you stop the auto rotation, that's a wonderful compromise between trying to show them. Yeah. Something
Should I
else.
do that on hover, or should I do that on, like, if they click the card, the rotation will stop. Then they will have to manually put the card, rotate the card to get the next card.
Without showing some controls, that would be less intuitive. If you did show like a pause sign or something somewhere and a play sign, it would be more intuitive that, like, oh, when I clicked, because I interacted by clicking, now now it's not going to auto rotate on me. If it's not there are many carousels that do exactly what you just said. And sometimes as a user, at least from my experience, I end up getting it like, oh, it's not doing the auto rotating anymore. Okay, I'll click. Like, I get that it's not as intuitive because nothing tells me that other than it just stops. So it's not a terrible thing to do what you just said. There's part of what Sudhanshu was conveying was like it's actually the last bit of, I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but I think Shravani deserves this because it was not easy and she did it fast. Was when you're doing the card that's behind was, by the way, in case you don't know, this means card that's behind.
No, I'm getting.
It's the official sign language sign for deck of cards. No, it's not. It's not. There's if you end up implementing that alternating card coloring, that will assist with, yeah. And then you wouldn't necessarily have to have part of the text or part of the contents of the card showing, because it would already be distinguished in the viewer's mind because it would be a different color. So it'd be quite.
Yeah. We'll get to know there are many cards behind.
Yeah. There's another technique to use. It could, like, in a lot of the things that we're discussing, it's like there's multiple right answers. So this is just another piece of food for thought. And that is potentially, well, of some of the things that Udit and Shivam were showing, some of the interaction that was happening on the screen had to do with when the user was scrolling. And so I'm going to say this and say that this is not a good suggestion probably, but it's a good thing to be aware of. And that is, like, another possibility would be you have a deck of cards, and as someone scrolls through the site, when they get toward the card and the card gets centered, it kind of holds there until they've seen every card just by the scroll wheel. They're trying to scroll, and it's like, and it would do the cards really fast if they're scrolling really, the great part about that is they're going to see all the cards, guaranteed. The bad part about that is, oh my gosh, I've seen these 19 times. I'm just trying to make it to the bottom of this. Like, it's very annoying that you're forced to go through that. So one way that people can get around that is maybe grabbing the scroll bar and just, or maybe if there was if you were able to detect acceleration on the scroll, if they were doing it really fast, like just go through. Anyway, just other techniques to toy with in your mind in terms of,
but if they add many cards, like you said, it will get annoying. Like,
right. There's if you were able to, like, Udit Takkar was working with an animation library that might have
I saw what he's working on.
It might have the ability, to detect acceleration, like how fast the scroll wheel is going versus, and based on that, maybe you could change. Anyway, that's super. I think it will, if you, like I was saying, I think it's a bad suggestion. I think you'll only over engineer the thing and end up in more trouble than you started. So there's one other thing. Oh, you had put in a sample image. Thank you for that. That's exactly what Avi Avi Kumrawat, geez, man, Kumrawat. Avi Kumrawat. Thank you. Okay. It's the same thing Avi K would benefit from as he iterates over the desktop version, and that is to have one of the more prominent pieces of information, which is likely to be some form of an image, whether it's a static image, a screenshot, some illustration, or some animated, like an animated GIF or an animated, is one to come to understand, like if animated GIFs display well inside or not. A lot of times animated GIFs end up having a really difficult time with CPU when they're inside of something else that is also animated. When there's CSS translation happening in the container of the animated GIF, a lot of times you'll find, at least, you'll find that your CPU, that web browsers have a hard time with that. But it's something to test out and understand what type of content works inside. I think the only other piece of meaningful feedback that I could give is, well, there's two. One, consider that you might eliminate a little bit of margin on either side just to give yourself as much room for content as you can. The second thing is, so if you end up allowing people to rotate through the cards on click, then that could be really bad. It's great for going through the cards, but it can also be bad if, ideally each card, the site visitor has like, if they're interested in that topic, they're like, yeah, okay. It's like, ideally each card has that read more, that learn more button. One isn't terribly prominent, or like it's not necessarily understood like that's a button. So
I wanted to ask that the draggable feature is there and the automatic rotation is also there. So are these two not enough? Like, is he click on rotate? I can implement that. Just I need to sort the error which is coming. But is that necessary, the third feature, like click on rotate? Like you.
In part because then you might be challenged with the user actually what they were like, oh no, I didn't want to, oh no, I was really interested in that card, now it's gone, and I was just trying to drill into it. And so yeah, it could be really bad. Great, cool, awesome. I'm just tickled that you did this. It was great. Cool. Good.
Cool, yeah, great work, Shravani. Yeah, since we are on time, so we can just quickly roll over the items. So since Roopesh is not on the call, we can skip his item. So he's adding tooltip to community badges. So Sudhanshu would like to quickly share your update on a new Meshmap page.
Yeah. So here is the new section of Meshmap collaboration.
If you could repeat, there was some network issue.
Once I have some issues. Yeah, so I was telling that is a new section of Meshmap collaboration page. Here it repeat, create, and iterate. So when you hover on one of create, the description changes as in iterate and repeat, same over. So one thing I'm experiencing with it, it should have more contrast, these three words, and need some suggestions on the mobile view. Here it is, Meshmap collaboration. The text are like random. It's not like related to the topics. Yeah, like it was a thing.
Yeah, Sudhanshu, do you want to do? Was there an animation on this or not? And there doesn't have to be.
No, it was like normal. I just created asking with Shivam, and he suggested that we could go for this. And
Okay.
yeah.
It's Shivam's fault then. Okay, good. Just kidding. I just get cool. So then, and it's not intended to be clickable. Rather, it's sort of a built-in.
Actually, I can't hear.
Cool. It's a built-in. It's a feature carousel, so to speak. Right. That's because the text changes based on the focus of.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So when you hover on create, it's not clicking, it's like only hovering. So when you create on hover on create, it brings the create and iterate and similarly in repeat. And the rest
Nice.
of two will be blurred.
And I don't know that it's understood by everybody on the call, but I think the three words that you have, the text is just kind of, not only is the text itself a placeholder in terms of what text it might be, but also it might be an image or it might be some other graphic or something that. And so, because if it isn't one, Naureen has a great piece of feedback, which is the low level of contrast that the text currently has.
Yeah, I was also experiencing of this create. These words are like low contrast. And just one thing I like need suggestion on is what could we do in the mobile view, because in mobile view we can't have this and just roll over on it. So either we can keep it static or anything else.
Yeah, it would need. Yeah, man, boy, you're kind of in the same spot that we were just talking about with Shravani. It's like, well, they either have to click it to show something, or you do what Udit did, which is just cheat and take away the cool animation. Is Udit still on? Oh, man, he's not. It's no fun picking on someone when they're not here. Anyway, which is to sort of quote unquote cheat, to just do away with the animation and just put all three pieces of information statically. Another one is to force someone to go through it, which is to kind of force them to, as they scroll, to go through it. In this case, if it's only three, it's not too bad. But something else that you might consider doing is the blur is nice. You might accentuate the fact that this is an interactable area by potentially having something of a spotlight on the content, or some other way of illuminating the content. Let's say that they were small little illustrations for each one, that you might not only blur the ones that are out of focus, but you might also give a drop shadow or some other way of some spotlight, maybe some other way of illuminating the active element.
The blurred ones, I was saying about the blurred ones, something like animations on the blurred one.
More like to accentuate the active one.
Okay, yeah, that could.
Can we do like this? We will not blur anything, but or a hover effect can be added, whichever is being shown.
In that case, when all our active, so the user like will be not extinguished, like it is only a create thing is only there, right? So people will understand there is only one description. So when we see that there is a blurred effect, so they are more attracted to hover on it and the description changes.
Hello, can you hear me? Can I add something here?
Yeah, I can hear.
I think it is a little bit confusing if we are hovering these two texts, that people can not get, is there anything to hover or not? So can we just not hover it, or if we are hovering it, hover it? If we are blurring it, then something we can add a kind of we can border it, something we can add border to these texts if we are hovering to them.
Border, I could try, but see, I will like have a review on it.
See, if we just if we blurring it, then I think it's we should add some a border kind of thing in these two text. Otherwise, I think if I can visit this page, I think it will be confusing to me to just know that it is there something or not.
Okay, like that could be an option. Okay, so I will try it and see that what could be done.
The question
as
is
you are asking.
how the user can see that it is there something or not if we are blurring that.
So it is like that if we just when we things are blurred, so they will like more in distinguishing that what is this and it is like blurred. So when they over it and the description changes, it's like that.
Yeah, but one thought is also that people can think that it is only for iterative or something like that. I think we should add some bordering kind of thing if we are blurring that.
Okay, like you could tell me in Slack, so I could like more have
Yeah,
a program. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for your update, Sudhanshu. Since we are 8 minutes over and we had a great discussion about on these topics, so we'll be covering all these topics on next meeting. And if it's related to Mishri, feel free to add them as an agenda in Mishri development meeting. That will be on Wednesday. So with that, I think we are good to wrap today's call. So yeah, it was a great call. Thank you all for joining. We'll meet you next week, same time, same place. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.